Did everybody get the minute? Everybody got the minutes? All right, so welcome to the October 24th meeting of the Swampscott Zoning Board of Appeals. The first item on our agenda is to approve the last meeting's minutes. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
Make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from the September meeting.
All right, I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. And then we are going to move forward with petition 2315, which is a request for a dimensional special permit and a section 6 special permit for a non-conforming structure to construct an addition of a one-story sunroom in a pre-existing non-conforming structure on a non-conforming lot. This is 48 Norfolk Ave. We have somebody here to speak on that? I knew you were here to speak on that.
Good evening. I know the mic is over here. Is there you want to bring the mic over here, and that way I can spread out? Is that okay? For the record, my name is Kenneth SHUTZER. I'm an attorney in Lynn at 152 Linway. I represent M.L. Thompson Family Trust. Okay. No, it's all right. I'll do my best. I represent the M.L. Thompson Family Trust. The property, as it's been identified, is at 48 Norfolk Avenue in Swampscott. The applicant is desirous of having a prefab one-story sunroom slash screen porch on a extended pre-existing deck. The structure is 20 by 12 feet for an additional 240 square feet. I have provided the board with the site plan, with renderings, and then there is a building specification sheet, or sheets that are also included with the submission. I'm asking for relief under a Section 6 special permit. I think we can draw the inference that it is, some relief is required under Bellata because there will be an increase on the non-conforming nature of the structure. And therefore, under Section 6, and the criteria under Section 6 is that the board make a determination that the extension, alteration, reconstruction, or change is not significantly more detrimental than the existing non-conforming structure to the neighborhood. That, in a nutshell, is the sum and substance of the request. I'm here to answer any questions that the board might have.
So I guess the one question I have, currently the distance between the garage and the deck, when I'm looking at this plot plan, the shaded area is an extension of the deck?
The area is an extension of the deck, correct?
The deck, okay. So previously it definitely had the full 10 feet. And that's an open deck with no roof or anything?
No, it's just to allow egress from the sunroom. So it's an interesting question because I was prepared for it, and it falls under really one section in the zoning bylaw, which is 2331, and it talks about building or extending an accessory structure. That's not the case. The accessory structure, which the garage, doesn't change. So then I said, well, if it's only relating to the principal structure. Is the principal structure increasing in size? And the answer is not, because that's the definition under that section. It says principal building. The building itself is not getting any closer. It's just the stairs, and it doesn't use the word structure. It uses principal building, and therefore, I would respectfully suggest that the provision under 2331 does not apply in this case.
But the deck expansion, said it's uncovered, the deck expansion.
The area that falls within the purview of the 10 feet which is a requirement for constructing or extending an accessory structure, is not impacted because the area that actually makes the area narrower is just the stairs on the deck, which is an unenclosed area just for
The
purposes.
stairs is 6.8. But the deck's uncovered, right?
Yes, right.
You know, when I read the section, Ken, a detached accessory building, which the garage is,
Right.
shall not be located nearer than 10 feet to the principal building.
Principal building. It
So it's
doesn't use the
defined
word.
building, it doesn't-
No,
that's
it
the
doesn't use the
question.
word structure, and that's the distinction, because I went through this entire bylaw, and they use the word structure when they're referring to anything, and I know you and I have defined the word structure when we had another case dealing with structures.
Yep.
It doesn't say that, it says the principal building.
It says building.
So in this particular case, it's only the set of stairs, and that is not a principal structure for purposes of this definition,
Principal- it's not a
or the
principal
intention,
building.
or the intention of, I think, why this was even included within the bylaw itself.
Okay.
Is anybody here to speak on this petition? Or online, if you are?
My client, by the way, is somewhere in virtual reality, if he can, and he would be here, except he's in Florida. And he didn't know when we were going to be able to schedule this, and his plans didn't permit him to be here, but he's somewhere on, if we can, is he available? Is he on?
His name is Keith, right?
Yes.
I don't see a Keith on here.
Well, what about Mark?
I see a Mark, yep.
Mark, would you click on
Thompson.
Mark?
Sure. Mark, I'm gonna activate your microphone.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, great. Yeah, I'm here.
He's here in Florida, but I'm sure he'd
Yeah,
prefer to be
actually,
here, but
yeah, Mark Thompson. I'm here with my wife. We're in Florida. We'll be back in a couple of weeks. But yeah, we've lived at 48 Norfolk Ave for since 1985. I didn't do the math, but a long time. And we've had a deck on the back of our house for many, many years, forever, basically. And it's worn out. We're gonna replace the deck. And we're gonna put a 12 by 20 foot, hopefully, put a 12 by 20 foot screen house on top of the deck. In the past, we've had, some of these screen house type things you buy at Home Depot. And, they haven't really worked out too well for us. Actually, they've collapsed in some cases over time. So we're just trying to put a little bit better screen house on the deck. And, we're near retirement, and we're going to continue to live there for a long time, we hope. If I can answer any other questions, I'm here.
the only thing I would add that I did not add earlier is that Mr. Thompson had sent out a letter to each and every abutter inquiring as to whether they wish to speak favorably or had any opposition. We've received no response. I have copies of all of the correspondence to each and every abutter. I have it for you if you'd like it. You can include it in the record. The only other thing that I found on the site itself was that the planning department's staff review comment from the health department, Jeff Vaughn, was no comment. So I don't believe that we've received any comments from anyone.
I did receive comment today from neighbor Tracy Harrington,
Oh.
but she's in support of the
Oh.
project. So.
Well, then, thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, Tracy.
Okay, yeah, I mean, the only concern I had was that 10-foot distance. I think that the extension along the 7-foot, it falls under the Belalta case. Do you agree, Mark?
I agree.
Yeah, and then I agree with your reading that it's the primary building, not the deck, and you have that.
I think there would need to be a condition that that extension not be enclosed.
Yeah.
There is no.
My reading
there-
of
The plans that are submitted, the building plans that are submitted do not include enclosing, it's an open deck to get out of the screen porch to ground
Right.
level. There's no intention. I mean, if you want to include it, but the plans that are being submitted and the plans for which, if the board were to be favorably predisposed to grant the relief that's sought, does not show that it's being enclosed. So if you want to stamp the plans and say, as shown by the plans that are submitted with the application, which is generally the way it's done, that would be fine with me.
And you need relief for the building coverage, right, as well?
As far as the building coverage is concerned, it also falls under Bellata, oddly enough,
Right.
because it's already a
Already
pre-existing
non-conforming by
nonconformity.
0.1%.
Oh, boy, I noticed
You're
that
off
as
that
well.
way.
You know something, I never appreciated the nonconformity as much as I did on this one. And yes, it does, and therefore, it's similarly under Bellata, it is a
Right, so
pre-existing
you're increasing the non-conforming nature
under
by
the Bellata
increasing the
criteria.
building coverage,
That's correct.
okay? So that's a Section 6 special permit, if the board determines that the change is not substantially
More
more
detrimental than the existing
the
nonconformity.
30.1%, that it's over by 0.1, the existing nonconformity to the neighborhood. Okay.
I also have, if it would be of interest, I have a GIF set of plans which reflect the size of the other lots in the neighborhood and the size of the houses. It clearly is probably one of as odd as it may sound, it's a larger lot than some of them, because this home was built in 1910, before they even had zoning. So the lots are very small.
Okay.
Anybody else have questions? Well, I think it does, like I said, I think it falls under the Belalta as far as you did have that 30.1 for the coverage. I don't think that yes, it's increasing the non-conformity, but not, I don't think it's more detrimental. And then you have the 7-foot side setback, which is just not
Right, it's
changing.
continuing along
It's
the
just
same
continuing
plane.
along the same plane, yeah, which I don't think is, especially with a screened space, it's not even a,
Right, so I think we need a finding here,
yeah,
that that it's not increasing the non-conforming nature of the non-conformity for that side yard addition. We should do a finding
Finding
that
that-
it's,
the deck isn't the principal
the deck's
structure.
not enclosed, and it's not violating 3.1 for the 10 feet. And then for the lot coverage, that it's the substantial, that it is increasing that non-conforming nature for the max building coverage, but it's not substantially more detrimental.
I agree. All right, does anybody want to make a motion?
I mean, I'll make a motion, because you're gonna write the decision.
You're always so gratuitous in deciding to write them when I'm here, and I'm glad to do it for you.
So I would make a motion to approve the petition 2315 by Keith Thompson, as presented by Ken Schutzer, as requested in accordance with the requirements
Constitute the board.
enumerated,
Oh, yeah.
proving out the nonconformity, acknowledging that the deck can't be
Me.
enclosed,
We could do
etc.
It'll be based upon the plans as submitted, and the plans that are
Regular
submitted
members,
do not
and then
reflect
add one more.
an enclosed deck.
You could gratuitously throw in that.
Sure, for you,
Let's do
my
that.
pleasure.
Thanks.
All right, should have constituted the board. I'll just constitute the board as everybody except for me.
Everybody except for me, after I made the motion.
So who is not on this?
Me.
Okay, Heather is not.
You say no?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, you have your relief.
You can have your mic back.
All right. All right, the next petition is petition 2316, which is to request a section 6 special permit for a non-conforming structure to demolish and reconstruct pre-existing non-conforming detached garage within existing footprint and setback, and this is 69 Cherry Street. Hi.
Okay.
Yep, check.
Good evening. My name is Derek Thomas. I represent the owners, Alex and Dominique Early, over at 69 Cherry. We started a few months back on approaching an accessory dwelling unit for them at their home. After we put the application in, we met with the building commissioner on site. Thanks. Talked about the project, and he made a determination that we did have setback violation, pre-existing, non-conforming, close to a 1 foot setback on the side yard there. I believe there's also height of 15 feet, is currently 18. We're looking to, for non-conforming structure, to demolish and reconstruct pre-existing non-conforming detached garage within the existing footprint and setback that's there now. What else? Again, Alex and his wife are here in case there's any questions for them when we get to that point about what we're doing. But we are seeking relief and asking that the board consider the request as obviously demolishing it and reconstructing it on the exact footprint, exact massing, height, setbacks, that would not be more detrimental to the neighborhood.
So that was my question, was about massing. Is it, it looks like the plans have dormers on the roof, and does it currently have dormers?
Yes, yes, there is a dormer on the front side. It's sort of an old, and there should be a as-built. And again, I understand that, you know, the board probably did not require the full proposed plan set for the accessory unit, as I believe that would be sort of by right. But it's the demolish and the reconstruction of it. So if you're looking at, I'm gonna find it
So
here.
yeah, when I'm looking at elevation B and D, they don't have the dormers on the second story.
EX 200, you have it?
What's that?
Sorry.
Yep.
Sheet
Yes.
200 on B and D.
Yes.
Yeah, so that, the front part on elevation E, side northeast, looking at, this would be at the house looking at it. So it's technically not a dormer on the second part. The dormer that we have, find it, and you'll see it mainly comes down to the stairway going up to the second floor. So we have the head height to get up there for that stairway egress. So A200. A201.
That's the same footprint, but
Now, so again, to clarify, you had asked existing building, as in, does it have dormers?
Correct,
No.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
the
yes, the
drawing-
massing is changing, because
The massing.
the massing is changing.
Which is,
The footprint and the height are not, but the total
That those
volume
dormers.
is,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
And therefore, the square footage probably on the second. Right now, is there a second story at all, or is
There
it just open?
Yeah, there is, and there's access to it. You know, again, long story short, it's been burned out for what, 80 years or something? I think there's a newspaper article we can find from 80 years ago where some local kids got caught that
Yeah.
torched it, and it's sort of been that way ever since. There was a chicken coop maybe 30, 40 years ago, and now it's more storage than anything. But yeah,
Yeah.
there's 2 stories access to it, about 18 feet, 10 inches, I think, total.
So it does look like it's expanding the footprint, at least with respect to the second floor, according to the elevation on the rear northwest elevation, C elevation. Like that second floor goes out on the sides, outside the original footprint,
It's got a little overhang.
because of the overhang, yeah.
Garrison.
the A200 or A201 you're looking at
A201.
specifically?
Yeah,
A201.
A201.
So, and I believe, is it A201 elevation C, that covered porch?
Yeah,
So
above
that-
that.
Yeah, the second level.
I think that's just the overhang of the roof.
Yeah, that's the existing roof
Oh,
overhang. And to address the
It's
cover,
this
yeah.
angle, this elevation.
It's just on this
Like
one
the roof.
here, you're not, the roof
Yeah,
doesn't,
Floor elevation, sort of,
Looking
because we're
at
seeing
it,
them in
the roof's coming
2D,
down.
makes
Oh,
it
I
a
see.
little
We have the
bit,
dormer.
I see.
it does, it makes it a little bit
I
awkward
said
to
it's the roof. It's the side of the
C2D.
roof.
so currently there is no overhang on the roof?
overhang on the roof.
Because the drawings show no overhang
Where's the drawing showing it?
on EX 200.
So like essentially eaves, or, standard.
If I may, I think, so there's currently a part of the roof on the first floor that comes out already. And so I believe the second floor is gonna have a dormer that's gonna almost make it, I don't know, if completely flush with what's on the first floor, but it'll come out. So the second floor is being expanded with just the dormer height, just the head height. But the first floor already has sort of like a sloping roof.
Would you see that as considered changing the footprint?
No, I wouldn't. I don't think it counts as our footprint, which is an interesting piece of that, under that
I mean,
Peralta
it's
case.
literally just
But is the height's changing, right?
the height is not changing. The only thing that's changing,
On the description for building height, I thought I saw that it,
Should not see a difference in height. The top of roof proposed is 18 feet, 10 inches, and existing as-built should be the same. And it's
18, 10 and a
yeah.
half, 18, 10 and a half.
Okay, the
The
same in
biggest
the
change is this
Description
volume,
says
the
it's gonna be
dormers,
the
yeah.
That's
Okay.
I suppose that's probably the proper, better way, the volume.
Why is it showing?
Yeah.
The massing is, as far as the actual footprint, corner to corner, front sides, exactly the same. And again, we originally approached just sort of trying to renovate, if you will, what was there, but structurally, the slab, it's not there. So safety-wise and, existing building code-wise, take it out, start clean, do it correct.
The question would really be is if we feel those dormers fall under Peralta, that it's extending a nonconformity vertically.
yeah,
But-
is it increase, well, but to be safe then, the motion would be that it was yes, and that it's not substantially more detrimental,
Right.
so that you're not running a risk of the, opening it up to an appeal.
Yeah. Is there anybody else who has any questions who's here to speak about this petition?
If there is anyone online, there's a raise your hand function that you may use, and I can activate your microphone if you would like to speak. Not seeing any.
So I could see this increase as, falling under the Peralta again, being sort of the same situation where you have an existing nonconformity. You're slightly increasing that nonconformity by adding more massing on the second floor, but is that nonconformity more detrimental than the existing structure that's already a foot from the property line, and by adding a dormer on that side?
And may I guess one other quick thing, I'll certainly pass to Alex, but we did engage with the direct neighbors.
I did speak with the neighbors that are sort of on that lot line. At some length, I gave them a copy of the proposal. They didn't seem to have any particular issue with it. And so,
You communicated, that's nice.
I'm sorry?
You communicated with them, which is
I did. I
good,
gave them a
yeah.
copy of it, and we talked about it for a while, and, they didn't raise any objections. I don't want to speak for them, obviously, but
Ken has a question here.
Oh, Ken, do you have a question?
I think it's significantly more detrimental, so it's just not more,
I think the standard is even higher than that,
Substantially more,
or significantly more.
you know.
Oh, okay, yeah. I thought you were saying you thought that the change was significantly more detrimental. And I was like, I don't see it that way, Ken, sorry.
I'm trying to,
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. You're saying the bar is actually higher. Yes, I understand what you're saying.
Take all we can get.
All right, so this would be a finding, not a special permit then? Would you agree?
I would say that the first question, do you want me to make a motion for it? I think I could do that if you want.
Sure.
Did
Okay,
anybody, nobody wanted to be heard about it, right?
No.
All
All right, I'll constitute the board as, from Paula down.
Okay, I'm going to make a motion for petition 2316 at 69 Cherry Street for the work that's described in the petition for the accessory structure that lost use as a garage, that there first be a finding that the work is increasing the non-conforming nature of a non-conformity. I think it's a close case, but I think we should make that. And my motion would further find that the increase in the non-conforming nature of the existing non-conformity is not substantially more detrimental than the existing non-conformity to the neighborhood, and that the Section 6 special permit should be granted for the relief.
Do we have a second?
I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. Thank you. You have your relief? It's like, well, that makes everything go fast.
It does. Best decision ever.
All right, so, all right, the next petition is petition 2317, which is a request for a Section 6 special permit for a non-conforming structure. That is the one we just, is that? No, it's very similar, to demolish and reconstruct pre-existing non-conforming garage within the existing footprint. Okay, this is 12 Eureka Ave. This is a little different, though, it's a little different because you are asking to go higher and there isn't in attaching it to the primary structure. Correct, okay. So, please just state your name and,
This is Evan Martin, I live at 12 Eureka Ave in Swampscott. Proposing to demolish a pre-existing detached garage and rebuilding a new garage with a second floor living space on the same footprint. We're also proposing to build a breezeway connecting the main house to the new garage, thereby creating one principal structure. We're seeking relief from the board. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. The structure that we're proposing in our view would be non-conforming, but we don't believe the proposed structure would be more detrimental or significantly more detrimental to the neighborhood.
okay, so this I'd love to hear what the board thinks, because to me there is a difference in the sense that the height is changing from 1 story to 2 stories, which that is a reason for attaching it, is to make the garage now part of the primary structure, which makes complete sense as far as getting the height. The problem is now what you have, rather than having an accessory structure that's non-conforming and in the setbacks, we have a primary structure that's non-conforming and in the setbacks. And how does that work with the increasing of a non-conformity? And I guess I'm curious to hear what the board has to say about that.
Well, my concern, if I can chime in, is that we've done this breezeway thing in the past for various reasons. But this looks more like, this is the first time that it really looks like we're creating 2 principal structures on the same lot and just doing it by this fiction of joining them up with the breezeway. And that would be in derogation of the bylaw, in my opinion, because the bylaw says specifically you cannot have more than 1 principal structure on the lot. And then I'm reminded of the case that Mr. Schutzer had before us not too long ago over on, where we did the breezeway, not a breezeway, but how the two structures were joined over on Galoops Point. One of the structures being a smaller house, which I think historically had been like a carriage house of this other main house, and then there was like a carriage house. And there was concern there. I think I wrote the decision on that based on a draft that Mr. Schutzer provided. And the concern was that, and I believe, based on my memory, I actually copied that, but I left it on my desk, was that the concern was that the carriage house retain its character as an accessory structure and not be in that if there was any further desire to put a second floor on or something like that, they'd have to come back before the board. I think that's my memory. But the board was very concerned then that it retained its character as an accessory structure. So it was not considered, it's different. It was different from this. This looks like what he wants to do is create another house on the lot, is what it looks like to me. So I could not support that. I don't think that's where the board should be going down that road.
What about the gross floor area if we are
Just to
connecting
clarify.
it? Isn't that changing too? Wouldn't the gross floor area, and if you connect it, all be part of the same structure? That's one question I have.
Or are you saying that you're increasing the size of the
Right,
house, and that
is
you need
it-
to go through planning first?
Yeah, is it still an accessory structure if you connect it? And does it trigger a change in gross floor area for either the accessory structure or the principal residence? think
I would
there's a-
say it triggers a change for the primary structure, because there's only one structure now. If we
Right.
agree that the breezeway makes it one structure.
Right, which I don't agree with that. That's where I'm coming from. I don't agree that it does. Or that it could, but it's just a fiction that I think is in derogation of the intent of the bylaw to prohibit two principal structures on a single-family lot.
If he enclosed the breezeway, would you feel the same way?
So which one?
If he enclosed the breezeway, would you feel
Well,
the same way?
Right, yeah.
also-
I think it's just to connecting them up. I think they are enclosed, isn't it? Isn't it enclosed?
I also think there would
Okay,
be,
it
we have it's, I think everyone would agree that the garage and the principal residence are both pre-existing non-conforming structures. One being a principal residence, one being an accessory structure. And by connecting them, I think it becomes part of the principal. I think it adds to the size of the principal structure, and then makes the principal structure therefore an increased nonconformity, because the setback on the side yard on each side of the principal structure has then been reduced to 2.4 and to 4.6.
Yeah. No, that was my concern, that now your
That's
primary,
That's a
Yeah, that's an additional issue there.
I mean, you could say this is an interesting situation because, well, no, I guess you got the 4.6 on the other side. I was gonna say the 2.4 is up against paper road, or right-of-way, sorry.
Well, let me ask this, what if you did it without the connection? What would the analysis be like there?
You can't get the height.
Get the height right.
You have to keep it at, well,
15.
Well, then it would be
But
like the
it- but
previous
it's-
petition, yeah.
but, the 15's allowed, right, and it's 13? If he was over 15, so it would be increasing, well, yeah, so it doesn't trigger a ball on the building
Too
height.
close to the house at 8'6", doesn't he have to be 10 feet away?
Yeah, it doesn't trigger it. He would have been better off if it were 15 feet 1 inch. And he was looking to go to the second story to have a better chance.
Yeah, it's 13 feet currently, so it can go to 15.
He can go to 15 on the height. Yeah, so that's what makes it tough for that relief, is the fact that it's conforming as to height, it's non-conforming as to side yard setback.
mean, so what happens if you just, the hypothetical of he didn't want to put it there. He just attached it right to the side of the house and built this thing.
If he attached,
He just, he just built a right attached to it. There was no breezeway. I mean, would you feel differently? And, he'd still be, have some nonconformities, et cetera. The house
You mean
is
since it's being demoed, just build it closer to the existing house?
I'm just saying, in other words, he could build a two-car garage and a second story attached, as like he put an addition on his house as
Yeah.
opposed to a separate building that wasn't connected.
Right.
But in reality, isn't that the same thing? I mean, he's still working off a nonconformity. I don't know where the nonconformities would be, but he'd still have nonconformities that would be huge.
well, what I think he could do, yeah, I think he could build a structure that connects to the house within the building envelope that you have for setback, rear yard, side yard, and make a decent argument that because the house is non-conforming on the side yard setback at the right-of-way and for frontage, the front yard setback, all those things, that he's not, under Balta, he's not making, he's not increasing the non-conforming nature of any non-conformity.
I guess what I was going at is, okay, now that you realize he can glue the
Yeah.
garage and the second story attached to the house, and he doesn't have to worry about height, et cetera. He could be
Right.
bigger and higher. He doesn't have to worry about 18. He can be 25 feet high.
That's
like
what I
that.
think he could
But-
potentially
So
do.
then, is that better than if he just builds this thing over here and he has a breezeway connecting it?
I understand that, but I think,
The problem with that would be then I lose my driveway, right?
I'm not advocating, I'm just,
He's just hypothesizing.
yeah, this is
Yeah, I
all
mean, the thing is
theoretical.
that, in that also, but also in that theoretical scenario, you're fixing the 2.5-foot setback, because you're pulling the property, you're pulling the,
Right,
my
you're-
concern is
you're
that we
getting
used to
rid
have a
of
garage and a
non-conforming.
setback, and now we have the primary residence 2 feet from the,
No, but if he doesn't build, I'm not saying keep where he has the proposed garage for structure. I think what Andy's saying too, if you move the whole thing to where you have, building envelope, where you comply with setbacks next to the existing structure, is where you could, so you wouldn't have a 2-point, you'd have a conforming, for the addition, you'd have a conforming rear yard setback and conforming side yard setback, and it would be attached to the principal
well, he doesn't
structure.
really have a rear yard, right? Doesn't he have two sides? Oh, no, the right-of-way. Is the right-of-way not a side yard?
Well, he's calling that a side yard. I don't know if that's, I think that's considered side yard. He's got a rear yard setback all the way for that little
Oh,
piece.
yeah, okay, sorry, I didn't see the back of the lot. Yeah, but he'd be far away from that. If he slid it up and slid it over, he'd be out of the 2.5, he'd be back at least to 8. He'd be back to what he is conforming
Could make it
there.
more conforming.
Right, but I was kind of going, I wasn't advocating, I was just saying, then he could build a monstrous, bigger
could.
structure that, are we really,
I understand what you're saying. Your point is, do we really want to encourage something that would obviously be larger and
It would have a more intense
more,
use.
more obtrusive or whatever than the existing plan?
Well, he's got an odd-shaped lot.
correct?
He didn't advertise for a variance on this one. But if he had, or he did, if we re-advertised it for a variance because of the shape of this lot and what the alternative could be, and that it would be less detrimental perhaps to have in the location that it's cited,
What's the hardship, though? What would the hardship be?
the shape of the lot. Let's look at the shape of the lot.
No,
how
what
it's-
is it that he can't do? What use is he not being allowed to make? He has a single-family house with a garage on the lot.
The accessory structure, I mean, the accessory dwelling unit.
He can make full use of the lot already. Has a house and a
Who,
garage.
is the right-of-way,
Where's my bubble?
who owns the right-of-way? Is that a neighbor and you have the right to access it?
No variance.
Yeah,
on
the
with
neighbor lives
Dan.
at 8 Eureka Avenue.
Okay, so that's their property, the right-of-way, and you have access to get to your driveway?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm sorry, I missed that. What's going on with the right-of-way?
The right-of-way is owned by the
House
property
behind.
here, and he has access to enter this driveway.
So you also have a right-of-way over that, where it says right-of-way, it benefits your lot as well?
Who's right away?
Only
Yes,
his
I
lot,
mean,
I think,
my
right?
neighbors in the back at 8 Eureka own the driveway, and we have a right of way.
So it's your right away over there.
Over their property.
Right, over their property, yep, I got it.
Can I ask a question?
Yep.
What would make this different than 8 Stern Street? We saw that petition last summer, and the board allowed the homeowner, he put on an addition at the rear of his house, but then that made the distance to the detached garage non-compliant because it brought it within 10 feet. And so he was allowed to construct a breezeway between the new addition and the detached garage. So what would make this,
I think the difference is he's looking to get the second story here.
oh, okay.
Yeah. I not only the second story, but, I mean, the issue is not so much that distance or attaching it. The issue is that 2.5-foot setback that all of a sudden becomes the primary structure. The principal structure is now, rather than an accessory that can only be 15 feet high. Since you are demoing that structure, have you looked into moving it to a different location? Are you just trying to maximize yard space in the back, or?
We're trying to basically like we're trying to increase the square footage of our house, right? So we've got 2 small kids, like it's a tight space, right? So what we're proposing to do is build that second floor living space so that we can have an office for me, guest space for when our family comes to visit, and then, because I'm working in the basement right now and just like blowing out the basement and making it like a playroom that they don't have,
Yeah.
so.
But is the reason for wanting to keep it in the same place because you're
That
gonna
was a
reuse?
logical thing to do.
But you're not like, because you're gonna reuse the slab, or is
Did you
there?
talk to the guy next door? Did you say Knutson?
Sorry?
Did you talk to the guy next door, Nelson Knutson?
Nelson? Yeah, I've spoken to him. I mean, he's, I ran this past him and he was, I don't want to speak on his behalf, but he was supportive.
I mean, in other words, he's got a right of way, so in reality, he's.
Well, it's not
not his
Nelson's
right
right
of
of
way.
way. It's actually, there's a neighbor in the back. It's,
I thought it was your right of way.
well, it's my right of way, but the driveway belongs to 8 Eureka, which is actually right up at the top of that.
Right, the thick black line is the property line.
Right. I mean, it's like, he can use that, the 2.5, so I'm like shutting my eyes and saying the 2.5 is really wider than that. Like,
That the easement, you can't count the easement, you can't count the right-of-way as setback.
Yeah, I was at first thinking it was like a paper road or something, in which case oftentimes we've sort of gone from the center of it, or we've thought of that line differently.
Mark, if the guy that's the guy in the back's driveway, he uses that?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's right.
Okay.
Yeah, Scott and Kristen Hellwig.
If you turned it and drove in that way, could you just turn it and attach it and drive in that way?
For a driveway, come on.
I guess, but I just, you can just move it, pull it
Yeah,
off.
that's what I'm saying, like,
move the
just
whole thing,
literally
yeah, whether it's
turn it.
turned or just shifted to like.
No, then he'll lose his driveway. Here, if you moved it to here. You can get to the 2 cars in.
Right, so the only way for him to get the building height in that area is connecting it, making part of the principal structure. But then the question is it substantially more detrimental? Then what could happen is, you've got all these nonconformities under Belalta, you could look to come back and fill up the whole lot with structure.
Are we triggering, how much square footage are we adding?
About 500 square feet.
500 square, so it's under
532?
800. Okay, so it's under 800.
See, Mark, I would feel different, I know, I feel differently if he didn't have a right of way. And, so you allocated that guy, it's not that guy's yard, he's going over it, this guy can go over it as well. So in reality, I understand that legally the lot line's there, but he really has the rights. It's almost like if he went to his neighbor and said to the neighbor, you deed me that piece of land to eviscerate my conformity, and I'll give you all your rights back, then you'd be able to do it, right?
No, he doesn't own the land, though.
No, Andy's saying if he acquired it and then made it so that
Oh, I see
it
what
was
you're saying.
part
Yeah,
of
I
his
gotcha.
lot, so he had more area and
But
gave
you'd
all the
still have
same
the
rights.
4.6 on the back,
He'd still have the 4.6.
or is that the side?
On that side.
That's the side, yeah, sorry.
I'm just saying, yeah.
I'm less concerned about the, I don't know if that's the retaining wall. I'm less concerned about the breezeway kind of creating the appearance of two principal structures as I am about moving the principal structure into that setback.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think under the question would be, so if it were combined, is the work increasing the nonconforming nature of any nonconformity? It would be yes, because of building height, and because it's becoming one, if it were found to be one principal structure.
That's what I said.
And then if it's yes,
Yeah.
the board may grant a section 6 special permit upon a determination that the change is not substantially more detrimental than the existing nonconformity to the neighborhood. It's a nonconforming change because of building height.
That's what I'm saying.
But I
guess-
think because it's already non-conforming, we can still grant relief for a non-conforming change so long as it's not substantially more detrimental.
So, that's what I'm saying. He could move the thing closer to glom it onto the house and build a much bigger structure than we're talking about. I think this looks good. The only thing that I would put as a caveat in this is if we give you that relief, is that you can't then next week turn around into an ADA, period. No, because that, if it was attached to the house, you'd never be able to do that. If it's separate in its own breezeway, next week you're coming back and saying, I got myself an accessory.
I
Well, but I-
disagree because we have no say over that. That's
Yeah, that's
as of
our
right.
jurisdiction. I think, I'm more
No, I
concerned.
think he'll be able to do that. He'll be able
Yeah.
to
You
do
can
that.
definitely
And I
do
don't-
that, I would
Especially
say,
if
and you would never have to
state
come
law
before
is
this
gonna
board.
change on that. I
Yeah,
think.
it's,
So you can't
Yeah.
restrict that?
I don't,
And
no,
more.
I don't think so. I wouldn't be in favor of that. I would be in favor if there were relief to restricting there being any additional footprint for building in the future because of the relief that was granted.
I just think it's bad precedent. I think we start connecting these ways to connect garages that can be built with no limit on the height, just if they can be built to the same height as the principal structure. I think it's just bad precedent.
So you think it's substantially more detrimental if it were the analysis?
I think,
It's
yeah.
not being built to the same height as
I
the
think it
principal
derogates
structure.
from the bylaw.
Just my thought is because he could build it next to the house, that would clearly be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than what he's proposing here. That's the only way I could see getting there.
I mean, the balance physically between the two looks more attractive than this big giant mass.
That's what I'm thinking. There's already a garage there. You're adding a second story to it,
Half-story.
half-story, excuse me.
No, a full second
No, but I
story.
mean, half-story in the terms of it's got pitch roof and dormers, as opposed to like full-on square.
So,
Yeah, I mean, it's the full square footage. I mean, the square footage is the full square footage of the
was there
second
anybody,
floor.
did you ask if anybody wanted?
Yeah,
to
I don't
do
know,
it?
is anybody here to speak on this petition? Does anybody have any questions or anyone online?
Anyone online can raise their hand. I can activate your microphone. Nope. I do have one from a couple. Hold on. This is S. Helwig.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, everybody. This is Scott Helwig. I live at 8 Eureka, which is behind Kevin Martin's home there. And we have spoken extensively about this project, and we are in support of it as is. So he has gone over just kind of what they were going to do and the purposes of it, and we are in full support.
Thank you.
That's the guy who was asking for his land.
What?
That's the guy who was asking to give his land up.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not supportive of it.
All right, and then we have,
And the guy next door. Knudsen.
Yes, Mr. Knudsen. Nelson, I think if you unmute yourself, we should be able to hear you.
Hello,
Yes, there you are.
this is Nelson Knutson. Kevin has told us about the project, replacing the garage that's there. And we've also spoken with Scott and Kristen behind, and yeah, we don't have any major issue with the project as is.
thank you. And then did you speak at all to the property at 14 Eureka Avenue?
Which one is 14?
That's
Behind the garage.
Can I speak to it? What do you mean?
Yeah, I was wondering if you had spoken to that person.
Oh, yeah, yes, that's Todd and Steph Riccardi, yep, they're aware of the project, I've spoken to them. They seem to be supportive. Yeah, we have communicated with them.
All right. So you think this could be considered a,
I think it's a bit of a
Finding.
stretch, but I
I think
think
it's a bit of a stretch
could make
as well.
the Section 6 argument. I mean, make the Peralta argument.
Peralta argument. I mean, I agree that it's definitely more non-conforming. I
Yep.
don't, especially with the, with the abutters not raising any concerns about light or, feeling closed in or anything like that, that to say that it's significantly more detrimental, I don't think it is, so. All right. Well, I'm going to constitute the board as everyone but Paula. And does anybody feel comfortable making a motion? I mean, you've made all the motions.
I'd make the motion. Maybe somebody else would help out writing a decision. I can help out with that. If I don't, that might be a bit presumptuous to think
Yeah,
that
yeah.
will carry the day. But I will make a motion with respect to petition 2317 at 12 Eureka Avenue, that the proposed work to replace the accessory structure at the rear of the lot with a new structure in the same footprint, but adding a half-story and connecting it by a structure to the principal residence, will increase the non-conforming nature of an existing nonconformity in that the former accessory structure now being connected to the principal structure would increase the side yard setbacks, nonconformity on each side, and further finding that as there is an increase in the nonconforming nature of the existing nonconformity, that a Section 6 special permit should be granted because the change is not substantially more detrimental than the existing nonconformity, which is essentially the same setback with an accessory structure versus a principal residence to the neighborhood. So I look at it that it's adding a half story by connecting the residence. I would further condition the relief on there being no further building in increasing the footprint of the existing principal residence. To the extent that we could do that under Section 6. So do I have a second on that?
I'll second it.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm a no.
So we have
You good?
4 yeses and 1 no, so you have your relief.
Is that mine?
It's not me.
Raise those.
So the last thing on our agenda,
Everybody's gonna do that now.
It's funny, I'm thinking, my previous house.
is petition 2305, which is a continued petition from September.
Should we continue 2306 first? Or?
They don't open
Oh, yeah.
just like the accessory apartments.
Is that all set to continue? Do they have a sign?
Yes,
do
I
you
have a
a sign?
signed form from
All
Attorney
right.
Drugas.
So we're going to continue petition 2306 until the next hearing.
Because.
So we have it
Plan's a
scheduled
better plan than what
or I
it
have
could
it marked as
physically
November
is if you
14th,
attach it
because
to
the
the
following
house.
week is Thanksgiving, so I don't want us to look.
So I'm away
There's gonna be
that
no such thing
we,
as a single family home.
so I wouldn't be able to
There's no
attend.
such thing as single-family zoning.
Is November 14th good for everyone else?
Paula, are you away the 14th? No. No,
I'm
you
here.
don't leave yet?
Still here.
November 14th for the next meeting? Didn't want it to conflict with Thanksgiving week.
I might be packing.
That would work.
Where now?
The deadline was today, and there are no new petitions filed, so it would really just
Yeah, I
be
think that's
29
fine.
Essex that would have the floor.
Brilliant.
14th.
Okay.
Or, so
Get my
if there's
hair
only
done that day.
one, and it's Thanksgiving,
You look
what
fabulous.
about continuing it to December, not having, would, who has that? Chris has that
Chris
one.
has that one, yep.
So what about conditionally continuing it to
I'll be out.
December, provided
Yep, December, okay.
the applicant agrees to the continuance to December, and then we don't need to have a November meeting if,
What do you
depending on
think?
what happens on the last petition.
Yeah, that would be good.
That would be lovely.
I guess, I mean, yeah, it's your call.
Well, I guess, would they be amenable to that, to
Would you
continue?
rather have like an early December meeting? That way we don't set it too close to any of the
Yeah.
holidays.
Right.
Yeah.
In the first couple weeks of December.
Here.
Let's continue it to,
5th?
the 5th, yeah.
I won't be here.
You won't be here. Will everybody else be here on the 5th of
I'll be
December?
here on the 5th.
I'll be here.
Yeah.
I don't think I will be.
You won't be.
I will be far, far away.
You can still do it virtually, right? Even if you're not physically.
You won't be able to.
I'm in Sri Lanka. There's no chance.
What's that?
I'm here on the
Your, Andy's here, okay.
Okay. And then Brad might be here. All right, let's do that. Let's continue it to December 5th. All right, so I just need a motion to continue petition 2306 to our November 5th meeting, December.
Second,
Or can you just say so
a
moved?
motion. So
Thank you.
moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Sorry.
All in favor? Aye. So that's
Aye.
December 5th. All right.
I'll think of you all.
December 5th. Okay. All right, now we can move on to petition 2305, which is 0 Lodge Road, which is a continued petition that we reviewed and previously, It looked like the decision was going to be no, and then the petitioner wanted to do some more research and come back. But Mr. Schutzer, if you want to fill us in where you're at.
I just asked preliminarily to determine who was on that first hearing, and whether those that wish to be heard on the final decision, who heard the tape. And I just want to be sure.
I got to say, I haven't listened to, so there's been how many public hearings on it?
Well, there's been one very long hearing.
I missed that one, and I haven't listened to the tape.
Okay.
I have.
And
I was here.
I was here.
I
I
was
think,
here.
I believe,
I was here.
I looked at my minutes, and I have the, Susan hadn't been appointed yet,
Yeah,
so,
so
but the four of you guys were the present, and then so was Brad, but Brad's not here, so.
Okay, so there's just 4 of us then who are present.
Well, obviously, I would need 4 positive votes, of which I'm not necessarily suggesting that there's a change in the management, but you're absolutely correct, Mr. Roman. The purpose of the request for the extension was to provide us the opportunity to do some research. In that regard, I had filed with the town clerk a request for public records. I have a copy of that, and I'm just going to present it so it can be incorporated in the record. Thank you. So it could be incorporated in the records. I would indicate that I received a response to that from town clerk Jared Liberday, which says, "Good afternoon. The town of Swampscott has searched through our records and do not have any records responsive to your request. Thank you. Have a great evening." My request under Mass General Laws, Chapter 66, Section 10, was anything relating to the zoning on Lot A on Zero Lodge Road from the years 1948 through 49, which were the years in question as it relates to the subdivision plan attached here too, which I included in my request for public records, which was an approval of a subdivision plan on August the 5th, 1949 by the Swampscott Planning Board. The purpose of that request was based in part upon information that I gleaned in the interim, which was that the decisions of the Board of Appeals at that time were not of record. We were not aware of that at the time. Then became aware that the Zoning Board of Appeals had been making decisions, but had not required that they be of record and therefore recorded. We are with no further information than we had before, other than to state the obvious that nobody's going to go before a planning board to subdivide a lot that at that point was a pre-existing non-conforming but buildable lot into 2 questionable lots, which is what occurred if the board were to take the position that there was no zoning relief that preceded the subdivision in 1949. Now, that's just my opinion. I guess it's based upon logic, but it's still my opinion. I do not have, because the town does not have any records either reflecting applications, records reflecting decisions, in order to afford us some opportunity to sort of glean what occurred. That being the case, and having sat through the Pittman property issue, which was identical in many regards to this, the only difference I would suggest was this was done before the subdivision control law, which came in 52. That subdivision was done in 55. But I still think under the circumstances, relief would be required, and that's why I didn't originally file it. It was filed by another attorney, but that's why we were going forward. So that being the case, and in order to provide us the opportunity to go forward, a request to withdraw without prejudice really doesn't provide any relief at all, but a decision would. And therefore, I would ask that the board, cognizant of what they heard at the first hearing, the issues that we've been presented with, which was that the town has not maintained the records that I think are required, the issues that I raised with regard to the variance and the reason for that variance, without repeating my entire spiel, which I don't think is necessary, I would ask the board to make a decision. and then to record that decision so we can take the appropriate action. Thank you very much. Unless you have any questions at all.
Yeah, so the only thing, I wish I had I didn't realize that this was, I thought we were going to, this was going to be
You know
continued. I
something
wish.
else, Tander? So did I.
Yeah.
I will not be the attorney of record beyond the zoning. They've retained a firm called Schlossberg Law out of Boston. There are 2 other attorneys that are now working on this. There are a multitude of options that they have. You know, there's the action against the attorney who certified the title that it was a buildable lot. There's the issue about the attorney who failed to provide them with the ability to obtain coverage through their title insurance for zoning. And then there's obviously the 40B, which is available under any circumstances.
Yep.
But as far as the relief that we sought, I think we've come to an end, and obviously if they wish to appeal your decision, that's their prerogative. I was waiting to hear from them, and I didn't know until today, and as soon as I heard,
Yeah,
informed
I
this
just-
meeting. If you feel uncomfortable with such short notice and wish to continue on your own, that's your prerogative as well, but I only found out myself today.
Okay, so I guess the question is, is there anybody on the board that feels comfortable making a motion that they feel will, can
Don't you have to-
cover?
Don't you have to like read all this stuff, reread all this stuff now?
I feel like after, if I was gonna, I mean, I can't make a motion, but if I was gonna make a motion, it would be very much, I would have to do a lot more reading
To
than,
make sure that you get
The right
every single
findings.
to get the right
fact,
findings, especially
because-
knowing that this is something that will most likely, that the purpose of this decision is to appeal it. I would want to make sure that the person making the motion was prepared.
Feel comfortable
We just got to make
voting on it.
sure as well that, Ken, would your client agree to a continuance to the next meeting if they?
I think as a courtesy to the board and understanding the board's reservations without, in my short notice, if that's what the board would request, I would take the liberty, even though I'm not sure I have the authority, I would take the liberty to suggest that on their behalf, I would sign that extension.
Continuance form?
Yeah.
Just so you don't have a constructive grant.
Right. So I guess that would be, the motion would be to continue this to the December 5th.
Just for the record, it's not my motion, it's the motion of the board for which we will consent.
Correct.
Ken, did you want to submit what you want for findings on that? And then the board could, we don't,
At this point, I think it's,
I just didn't know if it helped you at all.
I'll
leave that to you. If
Thank you.
you decided you wanted to, you could submit 5 proposed findings.
Okay. So can someone make a
proposed finding
motion
for,
to?
in a positive sense, would be something I would gladly favor the board with, but proposed findings which are going to be found to be insufficient to meet the criteria that I need to get the requested variance is just, it doesn't make any sense.
Okay?
So I
Yeah,
can
can
make
you
a
just
motion to
continue?
continue petition 23-5
To December the 5th?
to December the 5th,
Okay.
yeah, for Lodge Road.
Yep. Do you have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. We'll be back again.
I wouldn't miss it for the world.
Tape on that, what meeting it's from, so I can listen to it before the next meeting?
Absolutely.
Great.
Yeah, then we can
Is
always.
that still available on the?
Oh, I'm just gonna make a motion, or can
Oh,
someone
yeah,
move to
yeah.
adjourn?
Andy, what's the best,
Yeah, we got
Adjourn.
about a year
All
ago.
right, all in favor?
That's November.
Thank you.
So they would.